Hello everyone, it is Teresa from Teresa's Silhouette Spot for all things art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching you guys to create some joy through some quick art projects. So, welcome to July's PIY, Paint It Yourself, Surfer Gnome. So we will get started. I have these colors, white, black, red, yellow. I have this peacock blue, and some little like royal blue, medium blue, whatever you want to call it. And then I have dark brown, which you only need a little bit of this. If you don't have it, you might want to skip it. And then I have a tan. Okay, I have my graphite paper and I have my tracer. So you can, and usually we trace first, you can either paint the whole background and then pause and go back and trace, or you can trace it now and paint around, totally up to you. I'm going to paint the background and then come back and trace on my design. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to turn the camera and we are going to get started. So, okay, I have most of my paint on my brush. I'm going to use this 1/2-inch flat brush that I've been using today. I've done a lot of painting today, so pay no attention to the colors on my palette. I hope that's not confusing for you. But we are going to be starting with this blue, and I'm going to need some fresh white. And I can put it over here because that pile is clean. I mean dry, so it won't mix because it's dry. Okay? You may or may not need a ruler. It's up to you. We want to come about 6 inches down, and I'm going to mark it in 2 places. If you have a T-square, that works too. It's kind of important, and you guys know I'm not about rulers, I'm not about measuring, I'm about eyeballing. It's kind of important to have a horizon line straight. So I just put a little pencil mark in there, 6 inch down, and that's going to be our horizon line. You can eyeball it, it's totally fine. I'm going to go into my blue, I'm going to go into my white at the same time, and I'm going to start on the sky. Now when we do the sky, we want to move from our shoulder. We don't want to windshield wipe by doing this with our elbow. No, we want to move from up here in our shoulder and go all the way across with our blue. So I'm going to be picking up a lot more white because I want my sky to be brighter. We don't want to overblend. We want to see variations. I'm going to pick out something here to cover up underneath here because I'm using a board and not a stretch canvas, and less to clean up later. Okay, let's do this where it's not as messy. Okay, so I'm picking up more white than blue. We don't want to overblend. We want to see the variations in the blue and the white. We want to see streaks. We want to see dark streaks. We want to see light streaks. And again, I am moving from my shoulder. I'm going to come here. I'm going to hold my brush on the chisel edge. And I'm going to follow this line. This way my eye knows where to go and when to change colors. Okay? That's going to be our horizon line. Anything under there is what's going to become our water. Okay? I have a little bit of skip in there, so get more white. I'm going to come up in here, and I'm just going back and forth. When we blend, we want what's on our brush and what is on our canvas to be wet. I need to get in here a little bit of these grooves, but then I'm going to go back over it because I want all my lines to be horizontal. Okay? Now I'm not even going to wash my brush. And I'm going to go down into my next color, which is my peacock, and still pick up some white. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start in with my water. Pick up some more white. And again, I want to come back and I want to go over this line again. I'm helping to straighten it out, and I'm adding a little green to it at the same time. And we're going to paint in our water. I pick up both colors, this peacock and the white at the same time. I want to get decent coverage up here. I want them to blend, and then I'm coming back in with my brush. And again, I used a dirty brush. I didn't go in and wash my brush with the blue. It's totally okay. If you have some blue on your brush, it's water. There's all kinds of different colors going on in our water here. If you come to a part and you think you have too much white, add more of this peacock blue or teal or whatever color you're using. If you already have too much teal or blue or peacock, add more white. Easy peasy. I'm going to take my brush, and I'm about 3 to 4 inches from the bottom. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint in a smiley face. Okay, I want it a little thicker over here. I'm going to paint in a smiley face. This is how far we're going to go with our water. Now I want to get some coverage in here, so I'm going to fill it in, but then I'm going to come back and I'm going to make my lines horizontal. But for now, I just want to get it all painted in here. So I'm being a little willy-nilly, and then I'll come back and I'll go horizontal with my brush just to fix up my lines a little bit. Okay, and like I said, if you need to pause, hit the pause button. What's really important is that when you're blending, I know I move a little quick, but you need to move quick too, because what's on your brush and what's on your canvas has to all be wet. Okay, now I am going to wash my brush, and I'm going to get out a little bit of this fawn color. So like a light sand, tan. You can use sand color as long as it's a light tan. If it's too dark, we're going to add some white. You can add a little bit of the burnt umber if you want to add a little bit of shadow to it. We're going to be doing that, but we're going to do that very sparse when we want to add shadow under the feet and the crab. And I'm going to pick up the tan. I'm going to pick up some white, and I'm going to come in here again, and I want to follow this down. And again, we want our lines to be horizontal. I want more white. We want our lines to be horizontal, but you want this to curve down too. So when you come up here by the water, you want it to curve down, and then you want to straighten it out. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make this curve down and underneath. Then I'm going to pick up the tan, pick up the white, and start filling it in with my horizontal lines. Tan, white. Oh, picked up some blue there. That's okay. I'm going to brush it in. And again, if your painting is becoming too monotone, too monocolor, let it dry a little bit, and then you can go pick up whichever color you think what is that? Oh, I guess I got blue on there before. Whatever color you think you're missing. Okay? And then we have most of our background in there. Let me make a little bit more room for you guys. There you go. So now I'm going to wash my brush again. And this time we want some nice fresh white. So if you need to put out more white, now is the time. I'm going to dry my brush. I'm going to come over here to the very edge of my white. And we want to add some white in here. And we want it to be textured. So if you see, I'm making little crisscrosses. I'm picking up a lot of paint on the edge of my brush, and then I'm putting in little crisscrosses. We want to straddle the line between the water and the sand with thicker paint, almost textured. Little crisscross. It does not have to be a straight line. Just a little crisscross here. Thicker paint. Okay? And then we're going to come in and we're going to smooth it in a little bit. I'm using very light touch. And we want it to look like the water has rolled up on the beach, and you can see a little bit sand through it, you can see the water through it, and you have different colors. You want this white here to be white, but you want it to be translucent too. Okay? Now this is a little abstract in the background. We're not getting too crazy about this background. Our focus is the gnome and the surfboard and the crab. So this is just setting him into our beach scene. So if you're looking at yours now and you're like, oh, I don't love it. Oh, there's this, there's that. Don't fret, you guys. When we put our gnome on here, that's when it's going to pop. So this is okay. This is supposed to be a little abstract, a little wispy in the background. It's all good. Our focus is going to be our gnome. I'm going to get a smaller brush, a smaller liner brush. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow. And then we want to put in our sun. Now it's important when you come up here to do your sun that your paint is dry, because we all know that yellow and blue make green, and we don't want a green sun. We want a white sun. We want a yellow sun. I'm adding a little bit of white to my yellow because my yellow was way too translucent. So I'm going to come back and do a second coat on that, and now that I added the white. But yes, we want our sun to be yellow. You want to make sure your sky is dry. Okay, and we're going to do a second coat on that. Now you can use the same brush you've been using, or you can go to a smaller flat brush. It's totally up to you. And we're going to add some clouds. And now I definitely need some fresh white paint. My palette here has seen better days. Okay. So the clouds that are up high in the sky are going to be bigger and darker, and then we're just going to put little wispy ones lighter and down further. Okay. So I'm going to load my brush, and I do that by putting a little bit of pressure on both sides of it. And then I'm going to use my corner. I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to start making swirlings. Swirly, swirly, swirly with the corner, and then I'm flipping over the corner of my brush, corner of the brush, and then I just want to pull it out and make it a little flat on the bottom. Again, I have enough paint on my brush, so I'm just going to pick up the corner, and I'm going to come up here. I'm just making round. I'm using my brush. You can flip it over and use the other corner. I'm using my brush, and I'm making round little swirlies. I need more paint with my brush, and then I put my brush on a 45 to pull out some streaks on the bottom. Let me just put another little one up in here. Swirly, swirly, swirly with the corner of the brush, almost like you're trying to gently rub out a stain, and then pull out to the side. We want it higher in the middle. You want it to be a random shape, and then you want to pull it out to the side. Remember, they're clouds. Okay? Now that we have that done, I am going to hit my painting with my heat gun. And then we will trace on our gnome. So we blended blue and white for our sky. Then we blended like this teal, or in my case peacock blue, for the water. We added down here, we added some tan and white for the sand, and we made this curvy mouth here where the water is like rolling in from the beach. And now I'm just going to hit this a little bit with my heat gun so I can trace in my gnome and my surfboard, and perhaps my crab too. So we want our gnome standing on the beach, and we want our surfboard. Oh, I want my gnome in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to do this in 3 different batches. So I want my gnome in the middle. So I'm going to put a little piece of tape here. I'm going to slide my graphite paper up and underneath. Don't put it in the paint. I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to trace my gnome. If you're so inclined, you can do this freehand. Totally up to you. I like to peek before I lift up my tracer, so I know that I got everything I need to get. Sometimes I do still in fact forget, but less chance of it. The feet, I'm just doing the outline of the feet, because I'll show you, we'll come back to that and put in. I'm just going to lift up and make sure I have his hat, I have his star, feet, pants, beard, the whole bit. Okay, now I'm going to move this, and I want my crab over here in the middle. Now you can trace your crab, or you can draw your crab. It's totally up to you. I'm just going to put in the basic shape of the crab where I want it. And then I'm going to bring my surfboard over, because I want my surfboard to go off the edge. I want it to be in the sand. I'm going to line it up, and now I'm going to trace my surfboard. And that is it. We have everything on here that we need. We have our gnome, our surfboard, and the little beginnings of our crab. Move that stuff out of the way. Okay. Now I'm going to get my little round brush. You can use a liner brush. Well, a liner brush is probably too small. I'm going to get a small to medium round brush. I'm going to mix some white with my tan. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to do his nose first. This is probably the brush that I'm going to use for the whole rest of the project. Again, we want texture in here, so I am mixing the tan and the white. I'm going to do the same thing, tan and white, and I'm going to paint in his hands. One more tan. Oh, see, I checked and I missed the sleeve anyway. Just got a little line here for this arm part. There we go. And then I'm going to do his feet as well. Now remember, this is just color blocking. This is just doing base coating. When we go back and add in all the details, that is when your art project really comes to life. So don't fret right now. Don't be like, oh, my clouds don't look good, or I made a mistake. No, 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 no. There's no mistakes. It's art. It's art. It can't be wrong. It's all good. There are things that we can tweak, things that we can enhance, but right now it is all good. So I have my hands around the ball. We did our nose, and we did our feet. Okay? I'm gonna wash my brush. Now, keeping with the same round brush, I'm going to go back into my dark blue, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to outline my hat. Our hat is also going to be blue and white. Another reason why I like this painting, it basically uses a very small palette of colors. And I'm putting this dark blue in around the whole hat, and we're going to do the same thing for the bottom, but first we're going to do the hat. So our hat is going to be blue and white stripe, And now we have that darkness in there. So I'm going to pick up some blue, a little bit of white. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start painting in this brim of the hat with white and some blue. But we want some contrast in our hat. We want some darker stripes and we want some lighter stripes. Okay. And so now that my brush is dirty, I can go in here and fill the whole thing in. And again, I'm filling it in with my willy-nilly. But when we get back to it, we want our strokes on the hat to be curved and go with the hat. We want to follow around the top of the hat, the bottom of the hat, and then off to the tail of the hat. Okay, so I'm just making like these little curvy parts. So we keep our hat curvy. I'm going to pick up some blue. I'm going to go back in here and we're going to do the brim a little bit darker. Okay, I'm going to just keep picking up blue and we're going to add blue stripes. And you can make these stripes as thick or as thin as you want. Actually, if you don't like blue, you don't even have to do blue. You can do the hat whatever color you want. We're doing blue, and I like to stick to the sample. This way you guys can follow right along. All right, I'm only going to wipe off my brush now. And now I'm just going to go straight into white and I'm going to lighten up these white stripes. Picking up white. I'm going to pick up a lot of fresh white on my brush because although our hat is still wet and we're getting blending, we want to see the difference in the stripes between the lighter stripes and the darker stripes. Pick up some more white. Come in here. If you see, I'm just using these little tiny strokes to fill in with our white here. I want all my strokes to go with the shape of the hat, especially here where we slouch down and make the curve for the little tail part. Okay. Now we can let that dry a little bit. I am going to wash my brush. We can let that dry a little bit. And I'm going to come back up in here with a little bit more blue. I just want to clean up the edges of my hat. So if there are some parts where you went a little bit out of the line, I'm just coming in here with the dark blue. It's adding shading, but it's also cleaning up a little bit of the edges of my hat. And then I want to add this in here for the fold. And I'm going to darken that up with a little black too in a little bit. Okay, and there's our hat. And now with my dirty brush with the blue, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do his sleeves and his pants. Okay. Again, I like to pick up a little bit of white. Fill in his pant leg here. And don't worry about the beard. We want the beard to overlap his outfit. And so if you have your beard down here with these jaggedy lines for your scruffy beard, don't fret if it's not perfect. This is why we paint in the pants or the shorts first, and then we can fix our beard. Or paint our beard in, and it'll hang over the shorts like we want it to. I'm gonna get my liner brush because I feel like my liner brush will make a better line. I'm gonna make some nice blue here. And I'm just going to make a fairly thick line under his feet, right over part of his feet, because we painted the whole part of his feet. So I'm adding a little line, and then we're just going to put a strap and a strap. Okay, so now he's got his sandals on. I'm going to wash my brush. Okay. Now I want to get a little bit of white. I have white. I need a little bit of black rather. I get a little bit of black. My black is dried up. Now black goes a long way, you guys. A long, long way. And we want to just take a little bit of our, I'm going to move some, I'm going to make some new white. Put some new white here. Get a tiny, 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 tiny bit of black and start adding it in on the side. Not to my whole puddle, but just a little, maybe a little bit more to the side over here. And I want to make a gray. I don't want it to be too dark, but I want it to be gray. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start painting in our beard. And the first thing I want to do is outline it so I know where my beard goes. I'm following the line of the pants. I'm following the line of the ball. And I'm outlining where my beard goes. Now it's okay if we get some on the ball on the top because we're doing our ball last. Okay. Now I'm just going to come in here. Oh, you know what we should do? Let's go a little bit under the nose as well. Okay? All right. Now I'm just going to pull in these little short strokes for my beard. I'm going to mix the gray with the white, and I'm just going to pull in little tiny brush strokes. I'm using my liner brush. I have some gray, I have some white, and I'm just making a texture here. We want to cover up the whole thing, but I'm using my gray and the white I made with a little bit of black, and I'm filling in all this area here for my beard. It's okay if you get some on the ball because we're going to paint the ball in last, but you do want to do separate strokes. And we're going to go back with white so we have a little bit more contrast. You do want to have separate strokes and paint in your beard as you go along. So I'm picking up a combination of the gray and a little bit of fresh white from the side of my pile. I want to bring it right to the ball. I'm going to get as close to the nose as I can, even though we're going to put some shading under there. And then I'm going to come down here. And this is the part, this is why we had the pants. Because if we pull, we don't care. We're having a little bit overlapping our clothes, and that is totally fine. Our blue is dry, and I'm pulling down. I'm making the bottom of his beard a little wispy. Can you see that? Let me show you. So here we have it. I'm just pulling in, making the bottom of his beard a little wispy. We don't want a harsh line down there. Cover up our pencil and pull it over his shorts. I'm going to pull a little bit over here too. It was a little bit off. We don't want a straight edge. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to just go into some fresh white, and I'm going to start pulling in some fresh white on top of our gray. so we have a little bit more texture going on in our beard. Beards can sometimes be a little tedious. You just have to have patience, pick up fresh white, and just go back in and layer it in. It's nice to have a little bit of contrast between what was gray underneath and now adding in the fresh white. Get as close to the nose as possible, but we're going to go in and add some shading under there. We're going to add a little bit of a line here for our hat. So don't worry if you get a little bit into your hat or into the blue, or a little bit up under his nose. Because we're going to fix all that. I'm going to carry it over the ball a little bit because again we're going to be painting our ball, and we'll clean up that line. This way we don't have any empty spaces. Okay, I'm going to pick up some tan while I have white on here, and I'm going to fix his nose. Come down here, fix that curve, bring it up here, fix it where the hat is, and then fill it in. Add a little white. Okay. And I have a little spot here where I got some tan when I fixed my nose. And I'm just going to take it up with my clean brush. Maybe add a little bit more white down here for a little bit more contrast. We only did the gray part down here. Now I'm going over this part down here on the bottom with my white. And again, it's totally fine. You want it to be going over the pants. That's why we did the pants first. And we're just pulling in these whiskers. And we don't want a solid edge down here. We want a rough edge because here is his crazy gnome beard. Okay? While we have the white, you can add a couple of white stripes to his pants if you like. We want them to go at a little bit of a curve. You don't want them to go straight. You want them to curve because presumably his pants are going curved. Okay? Alrighty. Alright, I'm going to go back to my round brush. And now I'm going to paint my ball white. And this is when we're going to fix this line here for our beard. We'll paint our ball white, and we're going to paint our surfboard solid white. And that's why I tell you guys to trust me, because we did our beard, and I know some of you are like, oh, I messed up, but you didn't mess up, because now we come in here with our white and we fix it. We base coat our ball and it's white. I know you guys can't see it. I know I have a little bit of a glare, but there is our white ball. You can see your ball, so it's okay. And I'm going to come in here, I'm going to add in some white for my surfboard. Now if you traced your gnome first and then went around it for the sky and the water, your ball and your surfboard will only need one coat. If you painted your background first like I did and then went and added in your stuff, your ball and your surfboard are going to need 2 coats. But what is so good about acrylic paint, and all our homes are different, so what happens at my house is very different than what happened at your house, But usually by the time you finish painting one element, the paint is dry and you can go back and add your second coat. Okay. While we're doing this, we want a little bit of a shadow on our surfboard. So I'm going to take a little bit more black. I'm going to go back in here to this gray I made. I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I'm going to put a curved line down the center of my surfboard, and then I'm going to fill this side in with this light gray color. And that's it. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go back to my liner brush, and I'm going to put out a little bit of red. Let's not forget to go back over our sun. Okay, I'm going to get some red. I'm going to paint in our crab here. So if you didn't change your trace your crab, you want to just make a nice size oval and fill that in. Then we're going to do 1 and 2 for our claws. Okay, then I want to get a nice point. I'm going to twirl my brush here between my thumb and my forefinger. I'm going to get a nice point on my brush, and we want to do his little crab legs. So we do that by drawing little backwards L's. Okay, then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make 1 V and 2 V's. They don't have to necessarily touch. Mine are like floating out there right now. But in order to make them touch, we're going to make the bottom round with the smiley face, and that's where we're going to connect to the claws. Okay, now we got his claws up there like that. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit more red, and we want to paint a little line there and a little line there. That's where we're going to put his eyes. Now this is just a fun little crab. It's in no way, you know, a real rendition of a crab, but it's just fun to go along with our gnome on the beach. Then I'm going to add a little bit of red to this white over here, this white that I've been working on. I'm going to make it like a pink while my brush is dirty. And this is not my fresh white. My fresh white's over there, but it's not so fresh anymore. I'm going to put a shell in here. And we're going to do that. We're going to apply a lot of pressure to our liner brush. And we're going to bring in these, almost like we're making a flower. Going to bring in these little strokes, getting smaller on the end, and then we're going to make one across the bottom. Okay? If you want to see that again, I'll show you again. Let me get some more paint in here. A little pink paint. My red dirty brush for my crab. I picked up some white. And I'm just going to, let's see how I can do this. Start in the middle. I'm going to apply a lot of pressure. And then pull up. And then we're going to make these get a little bit shorter and meet in the middle. See, it's making a V shape, funneling down to the middle and getting shorter on the ends. Then I'm going to pick up a little bit more, and I'm going to make a horizontal line. And there we have our two shells. We're going to come back and add highlights to them now. That's just the start of them. Okay. And wash your brush. Okay. I'm looking for the lines on my ball. I need my tracer. Let me see. Can I see it on the ground here? Okay. 2 coats of white, so it made it a little bit hard to see. So I'm going to go back into my red, and I have 1 line here, and then 1 line here. Then I have 1 line here, and 1 line here. Okay. And I'm going to fill that in with my red. Now if your white's not dry, you're going to end up with pink. So just make sure your white is dry. And you can make your ball any color you want. You can leave parts of it white. You can do it red and white. You can do it blue and white. You can do it purple, whatever you want to do. And I'm pulling in some nice fresh red. I want that line to be nice and straight, and making my red color in here on my ball. If you have to go over it, you can. Okay, I'm gonna wash my brush. Then I'm going to paint. I have a line here. Let me get the blue. There's a line, and then there's a line, and is there another line down here? And then there's a line. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And I'm going to start filling these in with blue. Now we can go around the hand. We can straighten out our lines. We can fill all this in. And again, once you get it filled in, you want all your strokes to be going the same way. And presumably, you want them to go with the curve of the ball. Actually, this one is this whole section here. I did have an extra line. Okay, and once you have it all filled in, then you can curve your lines up and bring them where they need to be. Clean them up. Have all your brush strokes going the same way. Okay? And now for this last section, I think I'm going to paint it yellow because I have to come in here. I have to get some yellow. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to fill in my sun with a second coat. All right. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to spread it out a little bit. So I want to kind of make a ring or like a glare around the sun using my finger. But we don't want it to be too dark, so I just use my finger for that. And then I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to do the rest of my ball. And again, you can, oh, there's some crud there. You can leave your ball with the white section, You can paint your ball green, yellow. You could paint your ball if you're so inclined totally one color. That's up to you. It's just kind of fun adding all the colors to it. Again, we can get a nice smooth line under there. And that's why we go in certain steps. So as we go, we're cleaning up things, we're fixing things, we're tweaking things. So you don't have to get all excited about something that you don't love at the very beginning, because we have plenty of opportunity as we follow the steps to fix it. Okay? Now I'm going to dip the back of my brush handle, in some black paint. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw the knob in our ball, and look how cute that is now. Cute, right? Clean off my brush. Get some fresh white, again with the back of the brush. And I'm going to paint one eyeball for my crab. Pick up some more white paint and paint the other eyeball for my crab. I like using the back of the brush because it's so much easier to control to make little circles. Okay. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot the star, and I wanted the star to be red. So let's go back up here and paint in the star. Oopsie. This is one of those things, one of those elements that will grow and grow and grow as you try and fix it. So I think it's better to not have a perfect star than to have a giant star that's bigger than your gnome's head. So, good. Okay, now I want to come, I'm going to pick up some fresh white again. And I'm going to add a little bit of white highlights to his hat. Again, you want to follow the curve. Okay. I'm going to pick up some fresh white, and I want to add a little bit of highlight to my shells. And I'm just following the shape and the underneath of how we did our lines. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of black on my liner brush, a little bit on the very corner. I'm going to put an eye and an eye. And you can, if you want, put a little smile on your crab, or you can leave it. Totally up to you. I'm going to go back to my round brush, I think. Clean it off. Go back to our dark blue. And I want to outline my gotta get my hand right, my surfboard. So dark blue, round liner brush, and pull it there. Now you can do any design you want on your surfboard. I'm not even gonna wash my brush. I'm just gonna put in these little angles. If there's something you like, you can make your own design on your surfboard. I'm just making these little, almost chevron stripes on my surfboard. Okay? And I'm gonna go back to my liner brush. And so now you can get out a little dark brown. You can add a tiny bit of black to your tan. Whatever it is, up to you. I'm gonna get my dark brown, or you can add a little bit of black to your tan, and I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna make these little bit of shadow underneath his feet and underneath the crab. That's it. Just little light lines with the brown. Okay. Then I might have to get, yep, I think I have to get a little bit more tan. Get a little bit more tan and a little bit more white. And we want to come in here and we want to set back the surfboard. So if that means adding more white, okay, more tan to our sand. I know my shell is in the way now, but we just want to put in a little bit of tan, a little bit of white here. It's okay for our sand to have variation in color, of course. I'm going to go around my shell. And I just want my, oh, picked up a little bit of blue there, my surfboard on the bottom here to be set back. So I just want to carefully pile up sand and then get around my shell. I guess we could have waited to do our shell, but that's okay. Ooh. All right, and then I want to fix this blue here a little bit. Okay, now we're going to do little bit of black on our liner brush. We want to put a little black under the nose, a little bit. Little black under the nose. We want to put a little black under the ball. Okay, we want to put a little black, oops, not too much. We're not outlining the whole thing, but I'm just adding little bits of black here on the curve of the hat, maybe down the side of the hat a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. Maybe put a little bit on the star. Put a little bit on the ball, following the curve. Maybe a little bit, if you don't have enough difference between his feet and the sand, maybe put a little black there so his feet stand out a little bit more. Wash my brush. And I'm going to get some fresh white. Want to add a little bit of highlight to the nose, a little bit to the hands, maybe a little bit more to the ball, a little bit to his shoes and his straps, maybe a tiny bit over here to the crab, a little bit to the star, and maybe a little bit more to our stripes on our surfboard. Here we go. And I think we're gonna call that done. So, there we go. Let me turn my camera around. So I hope you guys enjoyed painting the surfer beach gnome with me. I enjoyed teaching it. And thanks guys. I hope to see you next time.